Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Games and Things. It's their giant spring clearance sale going on right now. Up to 50% off new introductory items, discontinued models, basically floor models. Everything is on sale. From home theater seating to pool tables to arcade games to bars and bar stools, don't miss out. Enjoy the savings of their big spring clearance sale going on right now. So get to Games and Things, the corner, Kingston Pike and Lovell Road this week to basically turn your house into a fun house. Make yourself the envy of the neighborhood by taking a trip to Games and Things or visiting them online, ourgameroom.com. All right, back with Chuck and Jimmy. Gentlemen, still no word on the future of no official word on the future of Santiago Vescovi, Josiah Jordan-James, Julian Phillips, Uros Plavsic. Talked to the folks at 24/7 Sports. Their feeling is James likely leaving, Vescovi leaning toward possibly returning. Phillips, they didn't have a comment on that to me, but I think most people I've talked to have said Phillips is probably gone and Plavsic is probably gone. Here's the thing. If that's the case, Tennessee would have 2 scholarships available. If Phillips leaves, that's 3. If Vescovi comes back, that's 2. If Phillips comes back, so you're dealing with one of these things where you've only got 1 or 2, more than likely. You had 2 possible transfers that came in yesterday. If we're here for the orange and white game, they were supposed to be. Kid from Harvard, kid from Northern Colorado. You're competing with Indiana for both of those prospects. Do you think Rick Barnes is starting to feel a pinch a little bit that this thing is dragging on? And I ask that because The Athletic ranked the top 34 or 35 transfers that have gone on so far. 10 of them are in the SEC. So a third of the best transfers in basketball are already in the SEC, and you've done nothing so far. Do you think he's feeling a pinch, or do you think he's worried about it?
I think he probably has a really good idea about who's going and who's staying, more than we do. I do believe that Vescovi has requested a significant amount of NIL money, but I'm puzzled by that because foreign athletes can't get it unless you decide, hey, let's have an exhibition or let's have an overseas trip to Uruguay.
Yeah.
Or somewhere, or Bahamas, whatever.
And it would seem like it's late in the game to be scheduling something like that. Now, I don't know what goes into that, but usually those things are planned years in advance.
Yeah. And you can do one every 4 years.
Right.
I think of Oscar Shibwe, who supposedly made about $250,000.
Yeah.
Buy a trip to the Bahamas or something.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe they can work out something with him on that. If Vescovi says he wants to return, it's kind of hard to say no to him, right?
Correct.
I guess the same for James and Phillips, right? I mean, you'd like to have them back. I don't know as much about Phillips' situation as surely he was a little bit frustrated by not being more productive as a freshman. And in spite of that, NBA folks love him, right?
Well,
he's got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
So
I've seen him basically as a second-round pick.
A lot of them take on potential. I remember a guy at Kentucky averaged 3 points, 3 rebounds, and went in the first round. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? So anyway, but the roster situation, I've got a feeling that Barnes knows more than we do.
Sure.
And so maybe he's not as angst about what's going on. But from our perspective, and trying to figure this out, you'd think, yeah, you certainly would want to know what your roster looks like because those 2 kids you brought in, both of them are scorers, right?
Yeah.
And what do you need?
Scoring. Which, then that's the question, Chuck. If you were Rick Barnes and you got a potential to bring in a transfer from a smaller school, smaller conference who's a scorer, or you can bring back a guy like Josiah Jordan-James who's a good player, you don't know what you're going to get on a given night, what are you doing there?
Well, if it's a veteran player that wants to come back and you want him back,
that's the question. Does he want him back?
Then it gets tough, doesn't it? And I think you got to look, to me, at the portal. When we get back to that, I think Tennessee's missing the boat there.
Well, that's what we're talking about, though, because you don't. How many people can you take right now if you don't know what your scholarship count's going to be? Well, now, if he knows who's coming and who's going, then somebody ought to be announcing this. You said he's under less angst than we are. Well, we're media and they're fans. That's the definition of angst. That's all about the angst.
We are. He's not.
Right.
Well, I'll just say this. We were sitting there wondering at one point, what's Kennedy Chandler going to do? Barnes knew weeks before he announced what he was going to do. He was going to go pro. So, we
had a pretty good feeling about Kennedy Chandler that he was one.
We did. Yeah. We did. But here's the other thing, too. Tennessee brought in a scorer last year. His name was Tyreek Hill.
I thought about him.
Yeah.
And what did they do? They tried to make him a point guard.
Yeah.
I'm like, Now, both these guys are about 6'6". I don't think there's any chance they would try to make him a point guard. But you would have to have some assurance from their perspective that you're going to allow them to score like they did.
And here-
but I don't know if you're going to get that assurance.
Yeah.
Here's
Again-
another thing I think you got to wonder too. Rick Barnes leans heavily on foreign players, right? Do you keep recruiting those if they can't get NIL money? I don't think you do, to tell you the truth.
Well, but if part of the issue is in his recruiting of players in the transfer portal is he doesn't like to give NIL money up front, well, then
Something's got to change.
yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I don't know if that meshes with the time. But right now, again, it's a ranking. Who knows?
Yeah.
But the Athletic says 10 of the top 34 in the country are already coming inside the
Exactly.
SEC, including Brandon Murray, the kid who, remember, Tennessee was trying to get in on supposedly last year when he left LSU to go to Georgetown. Didn't get him. Now he's going from Georgetown to Ole Miss. And maybe you didn't get after him this time. I've not heard anybody say he did, but that's one who looked like a pretty good player when he was at LSU as a freshman. So
He did.
all right. When we come back, now this is the one I really want to talk about. Not that crap. UT's hearing with the NCAA is this week. There are a lot of people who say if Tennessee doesn't like the outcome, they're going to take the NCAA to court. We'll see who buys that. Come on back on the Sports Source.